Hi guys, just doing a mini mixed flow. You won't need any equipment and we're going to start on our fronts. Just remember to have done 5 minutes of connection, posture and breath before you start. So we're starting in our prone position. Make sure your shoulders are nice and active. You've got your neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, pubic bone pushing into the floor, ribs and pelvis in connection. And then we're going to push ourselves up into 3-month prone. Shoulders active, push the floor away with your hands, make sure your pubic bone's still pressing into the floor and you have a neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, so we're not just sliding into lumbar extension. And we're going to think about extending through the upper back without dropping into the lower back. And we're just going to hold this position and think about our breathing. Keep pushing the floor away, keep those shoulders active, lengthen through the spine, make sure the neck doesn't go into any extension, but we're trying to extend through the upper back. We're then going to pull one leg in to our 4.5 month prone. So your knee's going to come to the side, you're going to push the floor down with that knee, with the inside of the knee, and then push down with the opposite forearm. Make sure you've got your neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, your active shoulder. Just going to pause in this position and breathe. Just a few seconds. And then we're going to swap sides, pull the other leg in, drop the other leg back. Make sure that forearm's pushing down into the floor, the opposite knee is pushing into the floor. We're staying neutral through the lower back, so we're not dropping into extension. Focus on your breathing. A few more seconds. And pull that back leg in. We're going into our low quadruped position. Find your neutral. Make sure your forearms both pressing into the floor. You've got your diamond shape with your hands. Shoulders are active. So we're going to create external rotation and depression through the shoulder. Pulling the shoulder blade down towards the back pocket. And extension through the upper back. So we're trying to pull the upper back down towards the floor. Then we're going to hinge the hip backwards. Hinge, hinge, hinge. Folding the hip, making sure we don't go into any lumbar flexion. We're then going to pull our body low down to the floor, scoot past and push up into a cobra. Curl the feet under into your downward dog. And then slowly lower down back to our low quadruped position. Hinge back and through into cobra. And pause into downward dog. Try and flatten off through the spine. Slowly lower down into our low quadruped. Do one more, so we're going to hinge backwards, pull ourselves through, up into cobra, and then into our downward dog. And pause, and then slowly lower down into our bear. Just pause in this position, breathe into it, take one leg forwards into our tripod, up into a high kneel, hip flexor stretch. So we're Stretching through the front of that back leg. Make sure you've not got an anterior tilt, so not extending through the lower back. So we're going to create that neutral pelvis. You'll get more of that hip flexor stretch. Breathe into it. Hands down, back into our bear. Take the opposite leg forwards. Up into our deep hip flexor stretch. Come into that neutral pelvis. Feel that stretch through that hip flexor. And breathe into it. Hands back down, leg back into our bear. Make sure we've got our neutral pelvis. We're going to hinge the hips back. Walk the hands back into our squat. Pause there a second and stand. Make sure we've got our neutral pelvis, neutral lower back. And we're going to go into our air squats. Controlling that movement as we go. So think about what's happening through your pelvis, through your lower back. Is it moving as you're going down and coming up and again? Or can you feel that it is staying neutral? Just do a few more. And then hands down, walk your hands back out. Take your one leg forwards again, up into high kneel. Then we're going to do some high kneels to stands. So pelvis level with the floor, neutral pelvis, foot not too narrow. Stand. And then slowly come back down. Stand. Slowly come back down. So we're working on the quality of the movement. So what we want is for the pelvis to stay level with the floor, and we want the knee to stay tracking second and third toe. What we don't want is to see hip shooting to the side, knee collapsing in, and then as we come down, we don't want to see pelvis rotating, knee collapsing, hip lifting up. So nice and square and level and slow and controlled. Just do a few more on this side. Nice and long through the spine, through the neck. Last one. And slowly down, hands down. Bring that foot back into there. Take the other leg forwards, up. And we're going to do high kneels to stand on this side. Make sure we've got that full foot connection, our tripod, big toe pressing down into the floor. Remember, our knee is not shooting inwards, pelvis not shooting out to the side. Everything's staying nice and square and level with the floor. Just do a couple more. And then from this standing position, find neutral, slowly lower back down into our squat. Walk your hands out into bear, walk your hands back into squat, stand, down, hands down, walk your hands out, back into squat, stand, making sure our weight distribution is equal through the right and left foot. do a couple more of these. Okay, last one, come down into our bear. Then we are going to rotate round into our high oblique sit. Round, opposite high oblique sit, lift, round. Now remember, with this, we've got our Lego body, so shoulders and pelvis move at the same time. So side to side. Just do a couple more. And then come into your high oblique position. Pull that leg back. So actually in our oblique legs. Then we're going to go down into our low oblique sit. Side roll, 3-month supine. Opposite side up, low oblique sit, high oblique sit. Down, side roll, 3-month supine. Opposite side. Now when we're rolling from side to side, so keep going, you're going to imagine you've got your Lego body again, so shoulders, pelvis move at the same time. When we're coming up into our low oblique sit and high oblique sit, keeping the shoulder active, spine nice and straight, shoulders not pushing forwards, we're not bananaing. So nice and straight. Control this movement as well. Think about your breathing. Just do a couple more from side to side. Now come down into your 3-month supine position. So lower back flat on the floor, feet higher than the knees wider than the hips, feet narrower than the knees, hips externally rotated and abducted, ankles neutral. Breathe in, focus on your breath. Then take your arms and legs back, so feet down, arms back, then back up. Controlling this movement through pelvis and lower back and through the spine. So what we don't want is to go into this lumbar extension, anterior tilt, rib flare. So keeping the ribs and pelvis connected. Keeping neutral pelvis, neutral lower back. Just a couple more. Focusing on your breath. And then legs and arms down to supine position. Bring your arms around. Take a breath. And we're done. Right, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed that. I will see you all soon.